G'day mates, this is Doctor here, and today I'm going to go over my World Chalice deck profile. So, World Chalice was a deck that I thought would be pretty fun and a simple deck to use, but over time they've actually surprisingly really good. And I mean really good. So, aside from the fact they're normal monsters, which was kind of a reason I built them in the first place, because how often do we see normal monsters? Aside from Blue Eyes, but then again Blue Eyes has been reprinted. So, let's go over the World Chalice deck, which is by far my strongest deck to date. So first is Induct the World Chalice Dragon, which lets you make another normal summon as long as it's a World Chalice monster. And when it leaves the field, you can special summon a World Chalice monster from the hand, like even for a Link summon, for example. And then you have Link Spider, which is in a way similar to Induct, except it points directly downwards, which is very important for Link summoning. And then you got Link Karibo, Underclock Taker, and some of the generic Link monsters like the Nightmare monsters, which actually go really well with the World Chalice archetype respectively, because it's part of a whole story that goes on. And then you got Arum, the World Chalice Blade Master, which is basically, if you don't want to use the Nightmares for Link 2, then go for Blade Master. Yeah. And then Ninjutsu, the World Chalice Warrior. So with all the spamming and swarming that you'll be able to do with this archetype, you're bound to have some cards that you can send to the grave to send another card that your opponent controls to the graveyard. And again, this doesn't target, which is important to take note of. And then you got Trigate Wizard, sorry. And basically it's a replacement for Firewall Dragon, which, yes, Firewall Dragon has been banned, but please come back soon, Firewall, I love you. But in some respects, Trigate Wizard can be better than Firewall, because if you have 3 monsters co-linked to it, then you can negate an activation of a card and, not destroy, banish it. But also, once per turn, you can banish a card on the field, which isn't a quick effect, but you can use it more than once while Trigate Wizard is face up. And then got the 2 Link 4 monsters, so of course I don't have Borrow Load? I think it's Borrow Load, where it cannot be targeted by card effects, whereas Borrow Guard cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is still really good on its own. And yeah, 3000 attack, can't be destroyed by card effects. Ouch. And Topologic Bomber is also pretty good as well, that it can just nuke the field without hesitation. So, still have some good Link monsters, which is what's most viable about this archetype, of course. Now, moving on to the main deck. So, here are the normal monsters: Chosen, Crowned, and Beckoned, like the World Chalice. So, we got this guy with 1800 attack, and Crowned with 2100 defense. And then you got Rescue Rabbit to search out the normal monsters. And, yeah, 2 monsters for the cost of 1. And then World Chalice Guard Dragon is basically the hand trap, where it can negate, destroy a card that targets a linked monster you control. Bear in mind, it doesn't have to be a World Chalice or a co-linked monster, so that's really good. And it can also banish itself from the graveyard. Bear in mind, same turn it is sent to the graveyard, and you can special summon a normal monster from the graveyard, and thus you have more monsters for Link summoning. And then you got Lee, the World Chalice Fairy. Oh, please focus. Yeah. So Lee, when normal or special summon, you can add a World Chalice monster from the deck to hand. And the problem with Lee is that, because it's not a normal monster, and where's Imduck? Yeah, so Imduck requires a normal monster to summon, not a World Chalice monster. So if you normal summon Lee, then it's kind of a problem that it's a really weak monster. So that's why I'm using 2 of her. But I am using 3 of the World Legacy World Chalice. So let me explain this little combination with Imduck. So Imduck lets you make another normal summon. So you summon Imduck, and you contribute Imduck to summon World Legacy World Chalice. And then when Imduck leaves the field, you can special summon another World Chalice monster from your hand, like maybe Lee in defense mode, because Lee has 2000 defense. And when World Legacy World Chalice leaves the field, if it's normal summoned, then you can special summon 2 World Chalice monsters from the deck, like Lee in defense mode. But World Legacy World Chalice is probably the best World Legacy card, because if it's on the field, then you contribute it to not destroy or target, but send a monster that is summoned from the extra deck to the graveyard, so even Pendulum monsters. And also, you can banish this card from the graveyard to add a World Legacy card from deck to hand. So, crazy searcher, crazy anti-extra deck monster. And the final monster in the main deck is World Legacy World Lands. So, this is another hand trap where if a Link monster battles, you can send this card to the graveyard and the opponent's monster loses 3,000 attack. And I keep saying how some of these cards don't target, which is really important because a lot of effects can negate targeting effects, but Lance doesn't do that. So it can also reduce Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon's attack to 1,000, and also it doesn't have to be your Link monster, it could be your opponent's Link monster and it's just battling one of your normal World Chalice monsters. Send this card from hand to grave and loses 3,000 attack. So, really deadly card. But now we've come to the heart and soul of a World Chalice deck, which is World Legacy Survivor. And this is the card that sets the deck into motion because you excavate the top 5 cards from deck to graveyard, add a World Legacy card from deck to hand, and send the rest to the graveyard, like World Legacy World Chalice, to banish it from your graveyard next turn, and you can add a World Legacy card from deck to hand. So this card just sets everything into motion. And another little combo is if you add World Legacy's Heart from the deck to your hand, then you can add the World Chalice monster sent to the graveyard by Survivor to your hand, because World Legacy's Heart is basically salvage for World Chalice. And then got some of the generic cards, and I think Cosmic Cyclone is more viable today because we're getting more and more cards that can banish themselves from the graveyard. So if you can banish them while they're on the field, like with Cosmic Cyclone, then obviously the opponent can't use them. So in some ways it's better than worse than MST, because unlike MST you have to pay 1,000 life points, but should be worth it. Then One Day of Peace to stall, and then Faustian Bargain because you're using level 4 lower normal monsters, so you can send, again not targeting, I'm sorry I keep saying that, but you can send a special summon monster from either side of the field to the graveyard, special summon a normal monster from the hand. And then Call by the Grave, basically anti-hand trap, essentially. So yeah, I mean, Konami, you please get rid of Ash Blossom, because that thing is just breaking the game. Far more than Firewall Dragon. Come on. Oh man, that ban list really hurt me badly. And I just want to make it clear that I don't use the FDK strategies, because I personally don't care about the second effect with Firewall Dragon. But regardless, Firewall is banned. So anyway, I'm using free Call by the Grave to counter Ash Blossom because I despise that thing so much. And I wonder if, let's say if you activate Survivor, your opponent activates Ash Blossom, and then you play Call by the Grave, could your opponent still discard another Ash Blossom since Ash Blossom is at 3? I don't know if you can do that. And finally, the trap cards, we got Breakthrough Skill, which is like Infinity Impermanence on steroids. And if this is sent to the graveyard by, say, Survivor, then you can banish it from your graveyard next turn to negate a monster effect that your opponent controls. Again, it's only during your turn, and not the same turn it's sent to a graveyard, but still really good. And finally, the World Legacy Sorrows, because I'm in sorrow that Firewall is banned, but this is a generic card, and I'm surprised no one uses this, but it's a generic card that can be used in any Link monster deck, and negates the activation while you control a co-Link monster. I mean, it's simple as that. But anyway, that's my World Chalice deck, and if you enjoyed, then please subscribe, because very soon I'm doing an opening series of some of these older sets, like 5D, Zexal, and even this Master Collection set, or Ultimate Edition, sorry. And until then, take care, mates.